touched upon pandemic boom because that brought in like a major change. And during and post pandemic, I would say people started to recognize the fact that you can work away from your work desk, and literally like it's the way you choose. And there's another angle to this, which is people are using remote work as a best term, whether it's about hiring context or in multiple other working contexts. So now that you've coached so many teams and like worked with so many founders, fast forward, what are the parts of remote work you think that people don't get it right even today after like a couple of years of setting in it?
Yeah. Yeah, and I don't fault them for this because it honestly took me like a couple years to figure things out as well. It's going from something that you know entirely, like going in the office, you've done that your entire life,
Mhm.
and then you're moving to a different medium and all of a sudden everything's new and you don't know what you don't know. So there's two different things that I mainly see on teams. One is that they're stuck in pandemic remote work, which was everybody went remote overnight. They just attempted to make office work remote and they just tried to mimic everything and honestly it's very limiting because pandemic remote was something that remote workers who had been around for years and years before that just felt stifled. They felt like controlled and like in a box and they couldn't do exactly what they could before. So it's a very different remote work experience from
Mhm.
a traditional remote work experience where you aren't shut down and the whole entire world isn't shut down for a pandemic. So people are still sticking to the same things that they did in 2020 when the world is now way more open. You have more options now, like things can be improved, but they're
Mhm.
still stuck in that one way. The other thing is that they attempt to just mimic office work.
Mhm.
So instead of just trying new things, they are just trying to copy exactly what they did in the office, and that's how you end up in meetings all day and having a
Mhm.
very poor remote work experience where you're overworked, exhausted, burnt out. And it's just an entirely different medium. It's not a good idea to try to replicate what you did in the office
Mhm.
online because they're just totally different.
Mm. Yeah, interesting. Because I think unless you pointed it out now, most of them really thought that when it came to remote work, when it came to staying in touch with teammates, it's at least the pandemic remote work taught us that, hey, we used to have water cooler conversations, so let's just try to mimic that. We used to do this at the office, so let's just try to bring that in. So I'm a bit curious at this point in time. Uh, when it comes to physical, mimicking the whole physicality and the physical portions that we had at office to remote work, why do you think people really did that? And like, did you have like a bit of a pattern of formation or like a certain psychological thought into it? Like, what were your thoughts about why people did this?
For so long, we've only kind of gained friendships through work, through school. Um, and it's just a lot to get used to in that you don't have to just go through work and school anymore. You can make friends on your own. And so they're trying to cling on to this idea that, oh, I can only make friends through work and I'm not really seeing them in a social setting. So therefore, make more social at work while remote. But really, it's all about like, hey, you don't just have to spend your time around people HR chose for you anymore. Like, you can co work with people at different companies who have, similar interests, or you could, hang out with friends and you can go and like get involved in your community now that you have that time from not commuting and having more flexibility in your work
Mm,
hours. Um, so it's really a matter of people getting used to that, hey, their social circle does not revolve around work anymore. And until
yeah.
that's kind of understood, they're still going to cling on to those elements.